Close your eyes. Just listen. That sound. The heavy, guttural thud of strings biting into felt. The scrape of shoes dragging across crushed red brick. The sharp, almost violent exhale on contact. It sounds intimate, focused, almost meditative. Now, open your eyes. Because what you're looking at right now, that's the part that should stop you cold. Court 5. Roland Garros. Thursday afternoon. Not a final. Not a semi-final. Not even a first-round match. A practice session. And yet, thousands of people, shoulder to shoulder, packed rows deep, leaning dangerously over railings, standing in 28-degree heat, baking alive under a Parisian sun that refuses to quit. They've been out here for hours. Some haven't moved since morning. Nobody's leaving. The crowd roars. For a practice winner. They roar. And right in the middle of all of it, calm, locked in, utterly unbothered, is a 21-year-old hitting warm-up balls like the world isn't watching. It is. The whole world is watching. The question nobody can quite answer is, how does this happen? How does a 21-year-old become the most magnetic draw on the entire WTA Tour before the main draw even starts? Before a single point is played in anger? For a long time, people thought they had her figured out. The narrative was simple. Maybe too simple. Junior prodigy. Generational talent. A nation's golden hope. The young girl carrying the weight of an entire country on two shoulders that shouldn't have to carry that much, that young. It was a good story. The media loved it. The commentators ran with it. But stand on court 5 right now and look at that crowd, really look at it, and you realize that story is ancient history. There are fans here from Germany, just to watch her warm up. There are business travelers from Washington, D.C., who rerouted entire European trips to stand courtside while she hits drills with Takana Maria and Antonio Ruiz. They aren't here because of where she's from. They're here because of what she does when things go wrong. That's the part people don't talk about enough. The pressure of that level of exposure. The cameras, the expectations, the crushing weight of constant, obsessive observation. It breaks young athletes. It has broken young athletes far more experienced than her. The expectations pile up. The cameras inch closer. And eventually something snaps. Not her. People watch her because she won't break. Because when she's down a break in the third set, exhausted, lungs burning, the crowd holding its breath, she looks like the only person in the stadium who isn't panicking. The way she processes setbacks, the way she refuses to fold when the match turns against her, it doesn't just make good tennis. It makes something people feel. The crowd shows up for the spectacle. Every time. But they stay because of the tennis. And now, let's talk about the tennis. Because to truly understand what's happening here, you have to stop looking at the crowd and start looking at what's happening between the baselines. Watch her feet. Freeze the frame right there, right at the moment she finishes her slide into the backhand. See that? The wide, almost impossibly stable base. The complete control of her center of gravity as she absorbs incoming pace and redirects it like it's nothing. That's not instinct. That's engineering. Clay court tennis is, at its core, a game of geometry and patience. It rewards the methodical. It punishes the impatient. And as a left-handed player, she walks onto every court carrying a structural advantage that right-handed opponents simply cannot neutralize overnight. Her cross-court forehand, heavy looping, dripping with topspin, is built like a weapon designed for exactly this surface. It pins right-handed players deep into their backhand corners and keeps them there. And in 28-degree heat, with the clay baked dry and the ball kicking up shoulder high, that weapon isn't just effective. It's suffocating. But here's what's changed. Here's what makes 2026 different. In the past, the counter was simple enough. Push her back. Force her 6, 8 feet behind the baseline. Make her defend. Make her grind. Make her suffer for every point. She used to let it happen. Not anymore. Watch her positioning in the practice sets against Ruiz. Watch how she's hugging the baseline now, standing her ground, taking the ball a fraction of a second earlier than she needs to. She isn't waiting for the point to come to her. She's going to get it. The moment Ruiz's shot lands slightly short, and it only has to be slightly short, she reads it before it lands, steps inside the baseline, and suddenly the rally changes completely. The topspin disappears. The ball flattens out. Pure clinical pace. The angle closed. The point over. She's not just outlasting people anymore. She's hunting. And that's what makes this week at Roland Garros feel different. That's what thousands of people are standing in the blistering sun to witness. Not just a great young player. Not just a national story. Something rarer. Something the sport hasn't quite seen before. A 21-year-old, right at the edge of something extraordinary, calm in the eye of a storm that's been building for years. And Paris? Paris can feel it coming when she frames one into the net tape, when the error comes, and eventually it always comes. Don't watch where the ball goes. Watch her. No explosion. No racket slam. No visible crack in the armor. Just a quiet exhale. Eyes drop to the strings. She straightens them slowly, deliberately, like she's resetting something deep inside herself that nobody else can see. Then she turns, walks back to the baseline, and moves on. That tiny, almost invisible routine? That's the engine. That's the whole thing. That's what separates her from every other talented 21-year-old on this tour. Now think about what her days actually look like here in Paris. An hour of practice. Sweltering heat. The kind of humid, suffocating warmth that makes your lungs feel like wet towels. Every serious player on tour does one thing after a session like that. They disappear. Air conditioning. Ice. Silence. Recovery. She walks the fence. Signing autographs. Taking selfies. Actually talking to the people who stood in the blistering sun for 3 hours just to watch her hit warm-up balls. Let that sink in for a second. The emotional cost of that, the mental battery it drains to be fully present for thousands of strangers while you're simultaneously preparing your mind and body for a grand slam, is staggering for someone her age. Most veterans couldn't do it. She does it like it's natural. And that is why people don't just admire her. They're devoted to her. But here's what the crowd doesn't fully understand yet. The crowd is not just a gift. It's a trap. When you hit a clean winner and thousands of people erupt around you, it feels like flying. 10 feet tall. Untouchable. But when you double fault, when the ball clips the net, and that same crowd inhales in collective disappointment, that sound can be crushing. It gets inside you. It makes you rush. It makes you force shots you shouldn't take, chasing that feeling again, trying to give the crowd something to cheer about just so you can breathe. It has ended careers. Quietly. Without anyone noticing.
She figured out how to neutralize it.
She takes the crowd's energy and she holds it, absorbs it without letting it spike her pulse. She stays locked into her patterns, her geometry, her rhythm. The noise doesn't change her. The roar doesn't seduce her. She plays with the crowd without ever being controlled by it. That's not just mental strength. That's a rare, almost supernatural kind of discipline. And the rest of the tour is starting to notice.
Talk to coaches in the locker room this week.
Listen carefully, because a common theme keeps surfacing in those conversations. Quiet, measured, but impossible to ignore. Playing her right now isn't just a tennis match. It's an environmental hazard. Opponents are openly admitting how suffocating it feels. Stepping onto a court where every point she wins detonates like a bomb in the stands. Where the crowd isn't just watching, it feels like it's playing. Like there are thousands of extra people on her side of the net. So the tour is adjusting. The elite minds are drawing up blueprints. They already know one thing for certain. You cannot trade heavy topspin with her for 3 hours in front of that crowd and expect to survive. That's not a strategy. That's surrender. So watch what her opponents are doing differently now. Watch the return positioning. They're stepping inside the baseline on her second serves, trying to rush her, trying to rob her of that crucial split second she needs to establish her base. In the rallies, they're flattening backhands down the line, keeping the ball low,
keeping it fast,
trying to starve that heavy sweeping forehand of the time and space it needs to breathe. It's a smart plan, on paper, but it's built on a razor's edge. Because hitting aggressive flat strikes on lively clay, while thousands of people are actively waiting for you to fail, that's a psychological high-wire act. One tight moment. One half-step of hesitation in the footwork. One racket face that closes a fraction too soon. And suddenly those calculated aggressive backhands are piling up in the net, and the crowd is roaring, and the plan is falling apart in real time. Still, let's be honest. There are real questions. Serious ones. The tour is adapting, and the most important test hasn't come yet. The test isn't a player who matches her aggression and folds. The test is a truly elite defender. Someone who absorbs every bit of pace she generates, ignores the noise completely, and just drags her into the silence, into the grind, into a long, ugly, airless baseline war with no crowd swings, no momentum, no adrenaline, just endurance, mental clarity, and who wants it more. Can she survive that? That question doesn't have an answer yet. It will be answered here, on this clay, in this tournament. Look at Roland Garros at dusk. The shadows stretch long across the crushed brick. The crowds thin out slowly, reluctantly, like they don't want to let go of the day. The red clay sits quiet and swept under the fading Paris light. When the dust finally settles on the 2026 campaign, this week will be remembered as the exact moment the conversation changed. Because this is no longer about potential. This is no longer a story about what she might become. This is about execution.
Right now.
On the sport's biggest stage. It starts Tuesday afternoon, May 26th. First round of the women's singles draw. Alex Eala against American Eva Yoick. The movement is real. The topspin is real. The baseline geometry, the composure, the crowd, all of it is real and proven and formidable. But her ceiling won't be defined by her forehand or her footwork. It will be defined by what she does in the quiet moments. When the body is empty. When the crowd holds its breath. When the margin between winning and losing is so thin you could paper cut yourself on it. That's the test. And after everything this week has shown us, after the packed practice courts and the blistering heat and the thousands of people who crossed oceans just to watch her warm up, one thing is undeniable. She didn't come to Paris to survive. She came here to own it.